Welcome to tonight's live stream. My secretary's here. Steve's here.
Tessmacher.
Yeah. This money penny. And we have a guest tonight. So Steve and I were talking, and we wanted to do a live stream while he was here. And we spent a day shopping for books, but that's another story entirely. I mean, a day. Poor Frida Bean is worn out.
She was a trooper.
Yeah, she was.
She was a trooper.
And she's loved everywhere. She actually has stores in Vermont that know her. Just know her. They don't know Steve. They don't know me, but they know her.
She's not just friendly. She doesn't leave you a choice.
Yeah, she's demanding.
She's demanding. And everybody loves it.
So I want to bring in Scott Danielson, who is a podcaster. We're going to ask him about some of that. He's a person who's been a booktuber. He's a big science fiction and fantasy guy. He knows a lot about the history of the genre. And he's been on a lot of read-alongs with me and with Steve. And we just wanted to get a chance to talk to him. He lives a long way from us. So if we could bring Scott in and have him.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Oh, thank you for having me on. This is fantastic. I'm a big fan of both of yours. All those things you said. Very nice. Thank you.
We were just talking. So you are quite a ways from where we're at right now.
You bet. I'm in Utah, northern Utah, almost in Idaho from Utah. In fact, I grew up most of my life in Idaho Falls, Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's your weather?
It is chilly, but it's not horrible. It's right around freezing. Little bit lower. Yeah, I'm seeing Jesse Willis there. Partner in crime, Jesse Willis.
So
Well, I know him. Jesse Willis and I started a website called sffaudio.com, stands for Science Fiction and Fantasy Audio. And we started it. I used to write a column for a place called SF Site. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it was about science fiction audio. It was called Vox SF for Your Ears. And Jesse contacted me through that column. And then we just started to talk. He lives in Canada. We started to talk, and the next thing you know, we're starting a website, sffaudio.com, and we started to post reviews of audiobooks, science fiction and fantasy audiobooks, and that was back when they were very expensive and few and far between. It was very easy to keep up with every single thing that was published in that, back then, and we got on publishers' lists, and we're just in heaven, people sending us audiobooks to review, and we just loved it. So one of the cool things back then is audiobooks were being produced that were like the first audio versions of various things, like The Star's My Destination, for example, would come out on audio, and that would be like the first time, and we'd do a review of it, and it was so new to a lot of people that it was great fun to do it. And that's probably my favorite science fiction was the older stuff.
Why did publishers make the decision?
It's a very good question. Back then, now they make audio of everything, but back then it was an expensive deal, and I don't know what drove those decisions. I know at one time they were starting, the guys at Audible. we talked to a fellow at Audible, and they were working their way through like the Hugo winners and the Nebula winners, things that were on people's lists, and then they buy like everything, the rights to everything Heinlein did. Blackstone published, a bunch of stuff from Heinlein. And so they just started to go through that. Yeah, that's funny. Those 8-track tapes were tough. That's funny. When I started listening to audiobooks, they were cassettes. So back in the old days, uphill both ways kind of stuff, right? Yeah. But always enjoyed audiobooks. There's just something about audio for me that I really like. I like old time radio. I like, they're just not publishing a lot of, audio drama, which is different from an audiobook, but I like that stuff too.
Don't I remember Stephen King experimenting with coming out with an audiobook that had no print version?
Yeah, he did one called N. It's just the letter N, and I think later it came out in one of his collections. Yeah, Stephen King messed around a lot, didn't he? Like, with the Green Mile, trying to write kind of like Dickens did, putting out a serial.
Time ago, I remember customers saying, "Okay, I see this audio was missed. I forget what it was called."
So the Mist appeared in a Kirby McCauley book called Dark Forces. So it was published, but then they did a special audio drama version of it, and they sold it in bookstores on a CD, and it was called The Mist in 3D sound or something like that. And it is pretty good. It's about an hour long, little over maybe, but it was pretty interesting to listen to. But it was a drama. It wasn't just a reading of it. It was, actors, just like old time radio. Yeah, and Stephen King has always been a pioneer on audiobooks too, because all of his books, in fact, it had been there was a whole period of a very long time where I hadn't read Stephen King in print because I was loving his audiobooks so much. He always had great narrators, and that's the key. Because when you listen to an audiobook, you are listening to it through somebody. It's not quite the same as reading, I guess, because you're hearing an interpretation through an actor usually, or a reader, right? So there is an interpretation happening by the time it gets to you. But Stephen King jumped on that immediately and was always getting just terrific narrators. And I say it that way because I do believe that he actually was involved. I had read something where he actually selected some narrators. So
authors typically aren't.
Yeah, right? Authors typically are not, but Stephen King, I believe, was.
Well, 800.
Yeah. Often, yeah, you can be pretty disappointed as an author with a terrible reading, no doubt. Yeah.
So the first cassettes I'm actually seeing as audiobook were Tolkien. They had a little wooden box. Remember those?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely, I remember those. So those were audio dramas. They had an NPR version and a BBC version. And then the first audiobooks I remember were from the library. So I was born in 1968, so I'm growing up late 70s and the 80s. And at the local library, they would have a cassette version of, I'm thinking of Heinlein, the Green Hills of Earth. It would just be the short story, Green Hills of Earth. And then over in the record album section, they would have these Keidman recordings, like Frank Herbert reading a little bit of Dune. Robert A. Heinlein never did an audiobook that I know of, but it was like Leonard Nimoy reading the Green Hills of Earth, on a record album. And I just loved him. I
think Nimoy did his poetry on LP, didn't
he? He did, yeah. Nimoy, and then Shatner got in. I think he read Foundation by Asimov, but Asimov read a lot of his own stuff too. Yeah, it would be just the initial short story in the Foundation series. I remember Shatner did a version of that, and yeah, it wasn't awesome, Steve. It was not very awesome. His holy cow, there's a Harrigan. Look at that.
Read by Asimov is the way to experience Asimov.
I think so too. Yeah.
So you are experiencing a little bit of Asimov right now, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, I brought that. This is the version I'm reading.
Oh, okay.
So this is just an older, the robot collection. But yeah, I'm participating in that and loving it. I love Asimov.
Future History Project, created, not sort of, totally created. Yeah. Who I just found out was a fucking car. There's 5 books. But we may want to research a little bit to see what you want.
Absolutely.
In the short stories.
How am I enjoying them? Really like them. Yeah. I've read a lot of them before. Some of them I don't recall. I don't doubt that there's some I haven't read. But I'm just about a week behind y'all. Had a really busy week last week. But yeah, I'm right in there. Segregationist is the only one I read from last week, so I have 4 more to catch up on, and then into the new week. But Segregationist is a good one.
Yeah, short stories are an advantage, right? When you're busy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Oh, I love them. Yeah, I love them.
Position with the novels that you are with the short stories, or some of them you haven't read in a long time, others you're more familiar with.
Some of the novels of Asimov.
Yeah, when the Future History Project starts moving into novel.
Yeah. No, well, I hope not. I don't expect to be. I can't read at your rate, of course. I read about, let's say, 2 books a week. 2 books a week is a really good clip for me. So yeah, I'll be able to squeeze those. The short, they're usually short anyway. But absolutely.
Have you read the pastiche novel?
No, I haven't. You're talking about the ones by the folks that are not Asimov? Yeah, I haven't read. There's 3 iRobot ones I haven't read. I'm super interested in Foundation Friends. I got a copy of that back there on the shelf. The only one I've read from there is Orson Scott Card's The Originist, I believe is the name of that story. I sought that book out a long time ago just to read that story. And I'd also... the Killer Bees, right? Bryn, Bear, and Benford wrote those 3 Foundation books, and I haven't read those. And I am curious, although, I tend to stick with the author in a series usually.
What about the TV show?
I watched the first episode, and I didn't like it very much. I don't know how you feel about it. I haven't seen how you guys feel about it. But I watched. I didn't even finish it. I watched about the first half, and I said, I'm going to keep what I have and let that one go. That's how I felt about it. Yeah.
Same thing. I watched the first one, and I'm glad it's on. I'm glad.
Sure.
See it, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah. I liked iRobot the movie.
I did too.
Even though it's like Asimov is in there a little bit. It's not the same thing, right? But he's in there somewhere, every now and then, it's like, oh, I remember that little event or whatever. Have you guys read Harlan Ellison's script, the iRobot, the illustrated screenplay? That was super interesting. That would have made an interesting movie, I think.
The way.
Yeah. Harlan Ellison was a crazy man.
Right. And it's perfectly when you are Harlan Ellison adapting an Isaac Asimov work for you to think you're smarter than him. But you're not.
Because they knew each other. They knew he was.
Yeah.
Harlan Ellison had been on the losing many, but never won one. I wouldn't have any problem with that. Sure. I think he is a better writer, but smarter?
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of Harlan Ellison, one of the loves we all share is Star Trek. And speaking of audio, they recently produced an audio version of his version of The City on the Edge of Forever. I love the eye roll, Steve. I love it because and he wrote that script not following Roddenberry's rules at all, and then got mad when they wanted to change it, but it was interesting to listen to anyway. They did it as it's not quite an audio drama, but they did like a table read of it, I would say, where they had different actors there and they read it.
So you've heard that?
Yeah.
And what do you think?
It was interesting. I mean, it's an artifact, right? It's that's the best I could say of it. It was just an interesting thing to have heard. What was different and what they pulled out and what I would say that Roddenberry didn't like.
Somebody says you're having trouble hearing Steve.
It's BookTube's dream come true.
Oh, I love it. That is too funny.
There could be a function to have trouble here.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. I like this. Yeah, I like this note. Wild Seed by Octavia Butler. I actually have not read that one. I've read Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents, and I loved both of those books. Right now, I would say I'm weary of the dystopia. But I love Octavia Butler. I think she's great. I think there's a lot of dystopia being written today. And speaking of Star Trek, I think that's where Star Trek has gone that I don't really like right now is in the original Star Trek, I feel like there was this optimism and it was a place that I would love to have lived. You know what I mean? Where, this is like a goal for humanity is let's all get here, and then, and now it's dystopia.
Harlan Ellison knew that vision perfectly well when he took the job to write this.
100% agree with you. Yep.
Decided not to do it. Decided to just ignore it. So for him to spend the next 50 years complaining,
Yep.
it just boggles my mind. I once heard somebody at a convention refer to it as, if you have a job, to build the Brooklyn Bridge, and you decide you're going to aim it at New Jersey, if you spend the rest of your life trying to by that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Worse. Mm-hmm. The story is worse. Why?
Yeah, he used to be upset when somebody would put The Guardian on the Edge of Forever in a novel. Isn't that right? Like they would write a novel and use The Guardian on the Edge of Forever, and then he would sue them, I think.
Or try to.
Right. Yeah.
No, whatever. He didn't have individual rights to that.
No. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a Harrigan, a parole board. That's funny. So one of the things, Steve, I remember, was it last year, you and I talked just a little bit about like what was published in 1977. Do you remember that? And we were talking about the science fiction. We had a list, and Sword of Shannara was on it, and the Silmarillion was on it, and the Dusati experiment was on it. Anyway, that was some fun conversation. And you, I think, picked some up and read some. But I got a copy of the Dusati experiment, but I haven't read it yet.
It's clear. Why was it long my time? I'm a 90. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I've heard about it in history.
He's not looking.
No, nope. I love it. You bet.
I wonder what people in 2050 say about our science today.
Good question. I don't know. If you mean right today, we seem to be. Most of the publication seems to be social science fiction, right? Where they're exploring social issues that, things of gender, things of race, and things like that seems to be the main point of a lot of science fiction written today. And then
Kim Stanley Robinson, I think, is doing some great work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's always exceptions, but I'm just, I guess I'm just talking about maybe it's like, I'm thinking like the award winners, the people that give everybody awards and stuff. That's kind of what is being honored. That's what's being honored, I would say. Because it used to be, you'd say, well, the Hugo Awards are a pretty darn good history of science fiction. If you look at the Hugo Awards, all the short and the novels that were given awards, that's kind of shows you a general history of it, because you get the New Age in there. You get, it started in the 50s. Alfred Bester won the first one. And then, go all the way through the 80s, which is where that's where I grew up. That's where I fell in love with science fiction, was actually in the 80s. As a teen, yeah. The golden age of science fiction is 13, right?
Yeah. Hamilton Thompson is trying to get me to go on a rant about Star Trek Discovery.
What about Star Trek Discovery? I love it. Yeah.
A Star Trek iteration, my exact initial. But I'm not going to...
Yeah. Harrigan. Yes.
1999, which just came up today.
Uh-huh.
I asked him if it was still on, Space 1999. He had to tell me it wasn't.
I'm amazed you have some John Reed. Where in the reboot of Space 1999, the story would split between the moon base Alpha and back on Earth. For those of you who are younger than 90, Space 1999 show in which nuclear chain reaction on the moon blows it out of Earth's orbit, and we follow it on adventures. It becomes our starship from week to week, and the action never goes back to Earth. They never try to contact Earth, even though for quite a while they're still within easy contact range. So we never know what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Standfast told me that they were going to remake Babylon 5.
Yep.
Thumbs up on it?
Fake, right?
Yeah, you bet. I love it. So Harrigan asked what we think of Andy Weir.
I don't.
No?
No, I like him.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah. I haven't read his latest one, Project Hail Mary, but I've read The Martian, and gosh, it seemed like there was a lot of negative reviews of his second one. I can't remember that one.
All such junk.
All three of them? All three of them?
Project Hail Mary's gimmick, its governing narrative gimmick for the first 150 pages, is that the first person limited narrator doesn't know who he is. And he's gradually on the fly trying to piece together who he was. Oh, I reached that door with my right hand. I guess I must be right-handed. Oh, I seem to be pretty good at teaching things. Maybe I was a teacher. And I was yelling at the pages saying, that's not how it works. That's not how any of it works at all. That wouldn't be that way. This is just you, as a writer, being cute.
Mm-hmm. Artemis.
Right.
Yes.
For a week. You got, console.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Well, this one just came in. I got this one at the recommendation of Tom L.A. Books, our friend Tom. Yeah, so I haven't read this one yet, but it just came in.
Oh my, look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
That brings back memories. Now, when you say...
I ordered it and I just came in, just arrived. I ordered it off of eBay.
It's like ordering on eBay.
Yeah, I've seen some things you've said on your channel about it, and I do. I've ordered from eBay for a long, long time, but I think the key is, just like you said, you need to make sure that you're buying from a photograph that's not a stock photo. I've had a lot of luck on eBay as long as I can see the book, and I ignore them if they're stock photos. I don't buy them. But yeah, this is ended up. This is a pretty nice copy of it.
Have you read that author?
I have read the author. Yeah. Let's see. What have I read by him? Let's see. There was To Your Scattered Bodies Go, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's good stuff. I read 2 or 3 volumes of that series. Didn't read the whole thing.
Channel, wasn't that the same? No, that was River World.
Yeah, and it's this River World is that world, isn't it? Isn't that the same
But
River World? And yeah.
Took all the stuff together, right?
Mm-hmm. It's like the afterworld, and there's people there that he's the afterlife, right? Yeah. And they're meeting all kinds of people like Socrates or whoever. Yeah. Absolutely.
There are lots of classic science fiction and fantasy properties that no one has tried. No one has done.
I know.
Princess and Amber.
I love that book. Yeah. In fact, I was reminded of Amber when you were talking about that Weir book. Because, it started off, the first volume of that was he didn't know who he was, right? And he was trying to figure out who he was. But I love that series.
We have a technical thing here. Deb, did you block the bookish Bryants? Would you please? I'm kidding.
Yeah, we can't have their ilk around here. I love it. Hello, Bookish Bryants. I love you. Yeah, I love it.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, Steve. I mean, that's a good point. I remember one time I said, if they just looked at the award-winning novellas since the beginning of awards, they would have so much material. I mean, to build stuff on, and it's so good, But they decide not to do that, and I don't know why. Like in the original Star Trek, they hired science fiction authors to write some episodes, and I don't know why that's not a thing either. I mean, if I was running Star Trek, I'd be like, let's get Kim Stanley Robinson to write an episode. I mean, my goodness.
I don't think he'd do it now.
Maybe he wouldn't, but who knows?
Remember Theodore Sturgeon did some,
Sturgeon and Robert Bloch and Harlan Ellison, right? Trying to think of some others, right? But there were a few.
Restraint. Notice my heroic restraint, not going on a tirade about why people don't write for the car.
I hope you go on a rant because I want to hear it.
It's close. I'm close.
But there's obvious reason. There are 2 obvious reasons why showrunners and content harvesters don't go to those old works.
Lawyers.
One is that those showrunners and content are bone stupid and almost totally illiterate, almost functionally illiterate. They almost can't read at all, and they certainly don't. They're too busy judging literary properties. And the other reason that if you go to those properties, 70% of them are written by white. Can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. So, it's the whole thing that gets them all.
Hey, Tom.
Oh, no, it's Tom.
Hey, Tom, yeah.
Oh, no, Becky's going to get mad at me because hey, Tom.
Tom, I just showed Day World. Yeah. He's the one who recommended that book to me. Yeah.
Since Day World is a very good book, I will overlook the fact that you took someone else's recommendation. I don't approve of it.
I love it. I love it.
Pretty well, like Tom L.A. book. Oh, good lord.
Well, here's another one that just came in the same box. But have you guys? This is one I have not read. I've read a little bit of C.J. Cherry, but it's like a 3-part. It's all one thing, but it's three paperbacks. Yeah.
I remember reading
So
those.
I have not read that. In fact, I haven't read Down Below Station either. So there's a kind of a big hole in my my reading there.
Classic.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
How about the Vorkosigan Saga?
I have read some of those. My wife loves them. Absolutely loves them. I've read Lois McMaster Bujold. I've read the fantasy series that she wrote, and I don't read a lot of fantasy, but it's the five gods. I think World of the Five Gods, Paladin of Souls. Anyway, I really enjoy those. They're very good. I've read 2 of them, and then on the Vorkosigans, I'm 2 books in at the moment, but
good.
I am enjoying them. I am enjoying them quite a bit. Yeah.
How about
In
you?
fact, yeah.
Novels are better than the
I love it.
Everybody's a fan of that series, but the fantasy books are better. For me, they work.
That's a trend you'll see with him. If you think something's good, he'll shift you. If he thinks he's going to get paid for this show, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it. But yeah, Lois McMaster Bujold is great. I actually just got in. I found how they used to do magazines in paperback, not just like analog or whatever, but they had one. I think it was called Destinies, and it was by Jim Bain.
Yep.
And her first published story was in one of those, and it was the epilogue for her first published novel. There's an epilogue where somebody is on a ship looking for bodies. I don't know if you remember that, but she's out looking for bodies, and there's another person with her, and she's kind of cleaning up after a battle, kind of a thing. And it is extremely moving. Yeah.
But she was in Destinies. I remember you used to see them around, quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little different. That brings me to another one. Out here. At my age, you disappear the minute I. Yeah. Honor Harrington.
Yes. David Weber. Now, I've only read the first one of those. I started to watch those. I like to go to conventions, but I go to almost all local ones. I mean, and the conventions I'm talking about are the bookish ones. I don't go to. I've been to a Comic-Con before that was in Salt Lake City, but I don't like those as much. Although the dealer's room is worth the price of admission. You go in there and any money I have is going to be spent on Star Trek stuff. But they've got just so much. It's like a mall built for me. But there's not many books in there. But anyway, David Weber was there, and he was writing the. It's a series. I'm going to remember. I think it's called Safehold. Off Armageddon Reef was the first one, and so I thought that was interesting. But he was super interesting. When you go to these conventions and they have all these panels where you go and you listen to the authors talk about some subject, I can't get enough of that. I just absolutely love doing that, and he was very interesting to listen to. So that I started picking some of his stuff up and just kind of looking. But I haven't read much of David Weber.
You have, right?
I have read it all.
Yeah.
Especially, very, very interesting. We when we look when Mark and I are having the occasional glass of wine, and we're talking about the progress of science fiction, you can look at science fiction, and if you didn't know the date on the calendar when we start to get reliable high resolution images of what the surface of Mars actually looks like, you'd be able to tell from the science fiction novel because the fantasy Mars disappeared. And I think the same thing is true with novels like the Safehold series in terms of the Drake equation and the search for extraterrestrial life. Because all of a sudden you start getting science fiction theories in which the finding of aliens is really bad. It's a really bad idea. It's going to be horrible, or it needs to be avoided at all costs. And that I'm amazed that the Safehold book is still going on with that whole premise. So defeatist. It's such a defeatist premise.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world of Safehold is made so that humanity can hide. To hide.
Yeah. And not only that, but they remove their technology, right? And an elite, a very few elite, keep that technology. But what they've told the people is you can't have the technology because we don't want to be found, right? And then that becomes a religion, right? Not unlike some stuff in Asimov where, it becomes long enough ago that anybody that can send a hologram is magic, so good stuff. But you're right, it is defeatist. It is not optimistic.
It could be true. When it comes to the Fermi paradox, the why no aliens, it could be. But one of the so-called great filters is that once you start making enough technological noise, you're wiped out.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing, too, when you think about it. There's been a lot of science fiction written where, all of the signals that Earth sends out eventually attracts attention. But what I don't think that they predicted is that we've become a lot quieter. And it's because we have satellites, but they're very directed. It's pointed at the Earth, you know what I mean? And we've actually become a lot quieter than we were in the 50s. So that's a very interesting thing. It's like, we have a spike of a bunch of noise and then quiet, and maybe that's the way of civilizations.
I think what's going to happen is the aliens, the first thing they're going to see is an I Love Lucy remark.
And then they're going to come destroy us all because, why would you let us survive? Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Land, the ramp will come down and it'll be brightly backlit, and all you'll be able to see is the silhouette of Schnauzer whiskers. They'll have returned.
That's right. We knew it. Oh, I love it.
Some TV, I don't know why that reminds. Oh, I guess because of how you described it. Remember V?
Yes. I do remember V. In fact, they remade V. We're 2 versions in on V. Heck yeah. Yeah, they made another one. I don't know. I didn't watch it, so I don't know if it was a continuation or a remake, but I did watch the original. In fact, I remember A.C. Crispin wrote a novelization, and I loved it too. That was in the 80s, right? That must have been early 80s.
Yeah, early 80s.
Yeah.
But there was nothing lovable about it.
No, nothing lovable about those schnauzers. Oh, I love it. Oh, the Vitamita Vegemin, right. The aliens are coming to get the Vitamita Vegemin. Oh, I love it.
That had James Caan and Mandy Patinkin movie version. And then it was an Alien who?
Alien Nation.
Alien Nation, yes, that's it.
Yes, that was actually a good movie. I haven't thought about that forever. I need to go find that thing.
I don't remember who the actor was who played the alien partner, but he did a great job. He did a far better job than the job that Mandy Patinkin did in the movie, I think.
Jason just...
Love the original V. Yes, love it. Way to go, Jason.
And,
You bet.
and the book collected, Brandy said she loved that. Well, you took it down from me.
There it is. Futurama. Yes. Oh my gosh. There are a couple of really great Star Trek episodes of Futurama. I hope you get to watch those.
They are incredible.
Oh, that's the best.
when the head of Mr. Spock says, "I look like a gefilte fish," and when they couldn't contract with it, so they got Welshie instead.
Welshie. Oh my gosh. Too good. Too good. Oh man.
The Star Trek drama are just classic.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So
that Leonard Nimoy had a sense of humor about having fun poked at his own leg. I thought that was that on The Simpsons as well.
yeah, I really, I think he went through something in his life, right? Didn't he write? He wrote a book called "I Am Not Spock," and said, "Please stop. I want to transcend this," right? And then he went through whatever, and he embraced it, and wrote a book called "I Am Spock." And yeah, I'm glad because I sure love that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including on The Simpsons with the monorail episode.
So how about
more of a Shelbyville?
Yes.
At the end of that episode, when the pimply-faced kid in the studio misreads the cue card as "He's watching the skis." I always think about that now when I'm surrounded by science, as I appear to be right now. He's watching the skis.
Love it.
did you watch The Expanse?
No, I did not. And I've read just the first book in that series, Leviathan Wakes.
Yep.
Are you a fan of the books and the show?
Not the books.
Okay.
I don't have anything against them. I liked the show. I enjoyed it. I don't watch a lot of TV or movies, which is why Steve will mention something when we're driving around and he looks at me like I'm in it. But I have him watching is that Wheel of Time, the first season. I watched that.
Yeah. I watched a couple episodes of that. My wife and son are big fans of that series, and I have not read. I don't read a lot of epic fantasy, so I haven't read the Wheel of Time series at all.
Yeah, I'm reading the first one. It is different than the show a bit, but the shows are usually different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're The Expanse, where your writers are the guys who are writing the show. They're TV.
I thought
Right.
and the show were both great. Just
Excellent.
When
Yeah.
you start the advanced TV show, you just can't stop. Even when you hit the occasional horrible acting throughout, like Cookie, but even when you hit one of those, that carries you completely.
What was her name?
And it won't play well in Utah because in the TV show as a book, the Mormons get shot big time.
Really? Really?
This enormous ship in order to go away from Earth, and it gets stolen from them. because in the show and in the books, the reason they get duped is because they're portrayed as just a whole society of Ned Flanders. Oh, well, if you need me to leave the room, I will.
Oh my gosh.
I was watching that episode where one seedy, corrupt ex-cop he manages to steal a multi-billion-dollar generation ship from a whole church of people.
Oh, is that what's his name? They with the hat.
Thomas.
He was unbelievably
All I could
good.
think in that scene when he's getting these Mormons, he's duping these imbeciles to leave the room and hand him the car keys. All I could think was, what would have happened if he'd been dealing with the Catholics instead?
Well, it depends on how many Harrigans were on that ship.
Oh!
Harrigan would take care of him with his bare hands easily.
They had any coins.
Oh, so good, so good. But yeah, that's a series. I read the first book, and I guess I better continue. You know, Steve's telling me to continue, so I better keep it rolling.
It's soap opera. It is space opera, but it is first quality.
And the series ended. The books just ended.
Yeah,
number 9? Or
I did see that. They stopped, which is fantastic. I love it when they complete a series, good for them.
yeah,
The star of the TV show is just rueful about the fact that he started his career in science fiction and doesn't appear to get away from it. He wants to. Maybe he doesn't want to. His name is Stephen Strait.
yeah.
And his first role was in a science fiction movie called Superhero High, Sky High.
Right.
Plays a bad boy in the high school full of superpowered teenagers, and one of his parents was a superhero, and the other one was a supervillain, and because of the conflict, his name is Warren Peace. Of course, he's at the end of the movie, and after that, he was thinking, "Well, I'll do a James Dean biopic. I'll be in an Oscar movie or whatnot." Now he's in
all the way to the bank.
all the way to the bank.
Oh, love it.
To get away from, the weekly invitations to sci-fi conventions, and on the other hand, you own a house in the Canyon and a lot of Nova Scotia. So
He'll write a book called "I Am Not."
I am not.
That's for Becky. Yeah, I love it. Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. They're playing in the chat room.
Hey, that's
Adaptations of stuff, especially stuff that is trendy or faddish, right? So if you want an adaptation, everybody wants the next game. And Game of Thrones is characterized by quasi-medieval city-state, lots of sex and violence. Everybody wants that, and they want a format that will allow that to go on ad infinitum. If that's true, why don't we have a cable production of Conan?
That's a good question.
Really perfect. It's got Sandor 3. It's got at least one household name. I don't get
that either. How about Fafford and the Grey Mouser?
Oh, I love
you can go on with those.
So we have a question. I want to get to some questions if we can.
Sure.
Patrick O'Brien, why didn't Master and Commander film start a franchise? Actually, I would say that Steve's a bigger expert on Patrick O'Brien than I am. I think it's number one would be expense. Hugely expensive. I think the movie was quite expensive, but when you start talking about what you have to do a good job, and I think the working conditions for actors would be. You'd really have to think about it, right?
Made a lot worse for himself, who made those working conditions.
Oh well, that's another story.
He told them they had 18th century boot camp. All of his actors.
I didn't know that.
He told Paul Bettany, this completely urban martini slurp of life. He said, "I want you to be able to climb a rigging." But when Russell Crowe was asked years and years ago why there was no follow-up to that, he said, "Is there gone to the rigging?"
So he's a little full of himself.
What made it? Yeah. Maybe he has a point. Would we really want to see that?
Yeah.
I don't know that I would want to see it. Why there hasn't been a TV show with the same characters, I don't know. But it's mainly Conan that mystifies me, because he is perfect for what the demographic wants now. Like, for instance, we were talking about the Wheel of Time and how they're trying to Game of Thrones up the whole material. More gory and more violent.
Well, yeah, but they don't do the sex. They cut that out. I think that's because Hollywood's changed in the last 4 years, too. I think there's a reason for that. So you can do that stuff, but you still have to be in the time you're in. And then you have a different situation on the set, right? You have more people watching what's going on. I'm not sure you can do something you did 10 years ago. Maybe that's a good I think some of it's definitely a good thing, not maybe. But
plus I brought this the other night.
Did you say something?
I brought up also that the pandemic changed the way we watch these things, because everybody's watching at home.
Right.
Where
That's
all
true.
ages are. They quite have awkward moments, as many of them as we used to.
No, you're here. We're in a pandemic, and it's been nothing but awkward moments.
I am wearing no pants.
I'm not going to say.
Gone before.
Oh, done.
Oh. Well, Becky has recommended Ice Planet Barbarians as the next Game of Thrones.
You have to love Becky because it's scary not to. I got what I wanted to know, and I think it's a pretty interesting question because it shifts us a bit. Although you could go with movies in this direction, big time. You guys know way more than I do, but you want to know about an interesting Western.
An interesting Western.
Try not to. He knows Louis L'Amour. He knows all that.
Yeah. I would. I haven't read a whole bunch of westerns, but a few. But Lonesome Dove is a favorite.
Yeah, that would have to be. I imagine he's probably read that.
Yeah.
Are we talking things that have been adapted, or
no? It just generally. Can you recommend a favorite western or a non-glittery vampire book?
The westerns of Elmore Leonard and Lauren F. I can't recommend either one of them strongly. Valdez is Coming is an amazing.
That's great. I've read 310 to Yuma.
Yeah,
shorter one, and it was terrific.
For some reason, I mean, 310 to Yuma has such a perfect structure.
Agreed, Brandy.
It just it asks you to think. You know, it's the trip from a hotel room to a train station. It's perfect. Every film out there, but in the collected Elmore Leonard Western, a lot better story.
Speaking of Elmore Leonard, have you guys seen the series Justified? I think that's the best Elmore Leonard on TV that I've ever seen.
Yeah, good. You almost feel when you're watching it that he was part of the scripts, even though that's not. It's
just
you get the same feeling when you're watching Justified that you do when you're reading an Elmore Leonard novel, which is that there's no flat dialogue. All the dialogue.
Right. And the dialogue is awesome. I mean, it is just snappy. Love it. Super good dialogue.
Salem's Lot was a good recommendation for
the vampire book, yeah.
Love Salem's Lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Crow did in 310 to Yuma too. He did. I like the original 310 to Yuma movie a little bit better because I don't know. I just did, but that was a good movie. They changed it. I think they changed the ending in the Russell Crowe version.
Mm-hmm. Well, I consider Russell Crowe to be the non-ironic and incredible genius. So I'm in his camp. He attached something I want.
Yeah.
I even know what I want.
Yeah, and Oliphant, Timothy Oliphant was superb in Justified. But yeah, highly recommend it, Mark. That's a lot of good watching. I'm jealous that you get to see it.
Stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of westerns a little bit, and I know this is a modern western, and that's a genre. And I haven't read them, and I haven't watched the TV show, and I may be the only one in North America who hasn't, is I can't keep the Longmire books in my library.
Oh, Longmire, yep. I've read 2 Longmires. Again, another thing, my wife just loves all those books. And I really like them. I like them quite a bit. What do you? Steve's shaking his head. Is that a no on Longmire? Oh, good. They're just good.
That show is terrific.
Yeah. Tom L.A. Books is in the house, and there's a volume of that series that is Dante inspired.
Really?
I can't remember the name of it. Do you, Steve? But it's really good. I read that one too.
And we should, in order to protect Tom's sanity, we should say it's loosely inspired.
Well, it's cool. You know, the main character in that series is like an English major, right? So he's always bringing books up. So it's like a Western with a bookish person as the sheriff.
What is going on in the cat?
Deputy Raylan Givens, hot.
And Becky agrees the hotness of Raylan Givens. Oh, and Tom, anybody say Dante?
Oh.
I love it.
Who are these losers? How do we fall?
How is Picard on CBS? I would say mixed. I did see season 1 of Picard. I wanted to like it so much. I liked some of the nostalgia stuff, where we're seeing some of that. But again, it's dystopia. They won't let us have... Right. In my opinion, they won't let us have a Starfleet that actually is good. We have to have this typical story where they're doing something crappy to the people, and someday, hopefully, in the history of humanity, we will have a government that is helping us, right?
In the show, remember those? When he
Which one?
When he went down into the archives?
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
It was very cool. Yeah. Definitely some cool moments. I can't not watch it. Yeah. I cannot watch Discovery. I have no problem not watching Discovery, but I'll probably take a look at season 2 of Picard because I just need to.
Picard, you get the opposite of Roddenberry's worldview.
I think so too. I agree with you.
All of the heroes are atoning for atrocities they willfully committed. All collective organizations are evil. Starfleet is just as evil as the Borg or the Romulans.
Yeah.
And for me, worst of all, virtually no family. Even family they're the people you let down. But I don't mind any of that for the final scene with acting Captain Riker on the pitch of the Zane. That is so wonderful that I'm willing to forgive anything. Although I know that Star Trek, especially Star Trek Next Generation, specializes in science fiction talk. But even given that, Picard died, right? I mean, he died. He's given a robot an android body. And for some reason, the android colony, all of whom are androids, decide to give him a perfect duplicate of his 175-year-old nothing.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, you say that, and I'm right there with you, and I left that episode just going, what, but they could have put Picard in a fresh 25-year-old android body, and another actor could have taken that role, and off they went.
Yeah.
Because it's silly. Let's put every flaw we can. And not only that, but we don't want him to have the advantages of being an android. We don't want any of that. They actually said that. Yeah.
Got a question down here.
Yellowstone, another one that I've actually just barely started. But so far, it's pretty powerful.
How about you?
Steve approves of Yellowstone's super hottie quotient. All shows have a super hottie quotient. And he's not happy. No.
Do you want to know what it's like driving for 4 hours in the cab of a pig with him?
Not as intuiting what it's like. He's now regretting his comment that someday this will happen.
Just P. Lovecraft. What was the old cartoonist in one of the digest magazines? He was in there all the time. He was an alien with tentacles trying to get away from his name.
Is it Gary Larson?
I do this all the time. But then on a live stream where I do this.
Oh, I love it. Oh.
I don't know who you're talking about.
You don't, because you don't remember either, but you don't have pants. So you got big. There's a draft.
Well, there's 100% pants on this end, you guys, and only 50% pants on your end. So I'm not sure which is superior or not.
Wow. So you're just...
Notice though, I resisted for the second time. David, you don't watch, and I resisted again.
Oh no, he said he doesn't want to.
I thought you had no problem watching Discovery.
No, I do not. No, that's what I was saying. I have no problem not watching Discovery, but Picard is kind of an obligation. Something in my DNA, I guess.
Synthetic heart. Oh, yeah.
I can't. I see your sigh, and I agree with you. But how can I not? I just don't know. Can you not? Do you not, or do you watch them anyway?
Well, I like Picard on balance.
Very good.
I have to make my peace with the fact that when the alt-right neckbeards who comment on all these things on YouTube say that it's not Star Trek, they are in large part correct. It's Star Trek characters, but it's a Starfleet that's willing to commit genocide, and it's a whole bunch of ex-Starfleet characters who are completely disillusioned. It's a bitter, ugly, stupid world.
Mm-hmm.
The implication of Picard is that world always existed, even in the era of the Next Generation. It's just we weren't, because we were on the bridge of the flagship of the Federation. Yes, maybe I can see that, but then what's discussed if that's the case?
Yeah. Do you see the question?
What's this question? What have we got here?
Right?
Segregationist. Yeah. Who was doing the operation there, Hamilton?
What's this one?
Yes, Agent to the Stars. I have read that. No, that was fun sci-fi for sure. Yeah, I mean that's a fun book. It was just enjoyable. I think that Old Man's War was fun too. So try Old Man's War. I haven't read anything past that in that series, but I did enjoy Old Man's War. Did you guys read Red Shirts? Because that's one I haven't read. Is that worthy of a read?
And I just read the Kaiju Preservation Society, but I'm not a Scalzi guy at all. I know there are people out there that okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody warn the husband. What is Becky? Discovery. Not a fan of Discovery is Becky.
Big pants are overrated.
Overrated Pants. Good name for a band.
Yeah. What's there to like about it? Officers on the bridge of a Federation starship just blurting out obscenities and laughing and giggling. The commanding officer wants information from them, but they've got to get equipped in.
That's got to be Scott, because there's no in between there.
Scott is not a Red Shirts fan.
Mark, go back to the one that
I think he was asking if you want to try a Kindle, Mark.
I have about 2,300 books on it.
Excellent. I assume that's what he's asking if you want to try.
No, I have with about 2,300 books, but I do it on iPad. I use the Kindle app and do it that way.
Oh.
And then on that app, in no way explains what we did all day. What we did all day today.
Yeah.
What kind of haul did you guys bring? It sounds large.
I put mine at about 30.
I completely ran out of time to make videos. I will try and make a haul tomorrow.
Nice. I love
But they're
it.
$1 a piece, so when I get 30 books, it's not a big deal.
Oh, sure. Absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah. But you guys live in some kind of a book mecca in Vermont and Boston. Yeah. I have to travel a little ways to find a nice store.
I remember what that was like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that
Heck yeah. Yep. And then, but of course I have eBay. This is one that came in recently too. This is a short story collection by Dan Simmons.
Boy,
I read the first story. It's a little bit Bradbury-esque. I think it was his first story that he ever wrote.
Did you do Hyperion without?
Yeah. Hyperion with Noah. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is Wednesday. Tomorrow I will do a couple of comics. I prepared ahead of time. Michael came on, let me know what comic book he wanted to do, so I brought it up with me. I also got some comics.
Excellent.
Talk about them. Oh.
And I comics.
I love it. Sounds terrific, guys. Yeah. Sign me up. So I think all of BookTube is going to show up at Mark's house tomorrow. Ready to go shopping.
What? That'd be fun, right?
Maybe you could just sell everything in the house and start over.
I get the right price.
Yeah, I love it.
Still not putting on pants.
No matter how many people are there, there's going to be no pants.
Oh, I'm in business.
Oh, I love it. I'm looking over here in the chat. Let's see.
He's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, you do.
Year Zero by Rob Reed. I haven't heard of that.
Neither do I.
Aliens learn that they need to license the Earth media they've been consuming. Oh my gosh. That's too funny.
So you're saying it takes you 45 miles to go to a bookstore. Well, it does me too. Well, I did the 45 miles. Don't we? In Vermont, every town is about 200 at the most. Burlington, our biggest city, is the smallest big city for a state in the United States. There's no cities. There's nothing but little towns. So I average 45 mile trip. Doesn't bother me, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, 45 miles is about right.
Mike,
Plenty. Love it. Very
Peacemaker.
good.
I haven't seen Beefy Peacemaker. Have you?
No, I have not either. I didn't know it was a series. I haven't watched a lot of DC. I don't know. I like most of the Marvel stuff that I've seen, but I haven't watched a lot of the DC. Wonder Woman and Batman, but I haven't kept up with it. I don't know. There's like a whole different tone to them. I like the comics. Like I think the last one I read, I don't keep up with them, but I read Batman Nightfall. That was good stuff.
Oh, Harford leaves a comment saying that he loves Comic Wednesdays because it's a great theme.
Okay.
And a lot of emails from people in the last couple of weeks saying, I love Comic Book Wednesdays too, but mainly when you stomp all over my table.
Oh, shoot.
Another thing tomorrow that and
So have you watched
Have I watched what?
Hawkeye?
Yes.
What do you think?
I loved it. I thought it was terrific.
Did you?
Yeah. Does Steve think it's terrific? He turned. Oh, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I have electronic screeners for
I'll check it.
the
Leave it up.
Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Ooh, nice.
Partial electronic screener for the Batman. But I don't anticipate liking either one of them. I know that I'll be in the party. The film dude on YouTube, they're all exactly the same, and I've quipped many times, but they all look like they came that close to being cast as Peter Parker. They look just like Peter Parker. And with Batman, as the various franchises have gone on in theaters, they have become so fetishized to very little things that it's all they're going to be paying attention to. The main thing being the architecture. And no one should.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Has there ever been a Carthusian monastery? We have a monastery not far from us in Weston, Vermont, which most of us around here know because of their singing, but I don't know what. So I apologize. I'm an Anglican, so I don't always know all the details. So.
You bet. Yeah, I was just looking. The Lonely Bookshelf says The Sun by Philip Meyer, and I just looked it up. Yep, I have not heard of that. Is it a Western? It looks like he might be responding to the Western thing. Is that a Western?
Western.
Well, I have no idea. He didn't provide any content whatsoever. But it's a very good novel. I don't know if that's enough.
But it might have been part of the earlier conversation.
There it is. Yeah, it says it's an utterly transporting novel that maps the legacy of violence in the American West through the lives of the McCulloughs, An ambitious family as resilient and dangerous as the land they claim. 1849 is when it's set. That's The Sun by Philip Meyer. Cool.
In the peace of the morning here at the old house in Vermont, I will spontaneously break into monastic camp. I do all the parts myself.
I thought he was hurt. He gets lost in my backyard.
Is your backyard spacious?
I guess compared to what they have for backyards in Boston.
I got nothing. In Boston, I got nothing. I got a couple of boards.
Yeah, here my backyard is uphill, but everybody's backyard is uphill in Vermont, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Love it.
Gunwich.
You've never had clam chowder from New England?
He can come up here as long as you get up here and barbecue, because the man can barbecue. You ever seen the images he's getting? Oh man,
No Boston cream pie.
Oh.
Hamilton, I am not. I don't read a lot of comics for no particular reason. I've read some Sandman. I like that. And I've read a little bit of Batman. I like that. And a couple of like graphic novels like Lock and Key. I've read all of those.
Those scared me.
Yeah. But other than that, I haven't read a lot of the other ones.
It's Joe Hill, right?
Yeah, Joe Hill did Lock and Key.
Yeah. All right, what do we got? So we got no chowder. I can't believe that New England clam chowder. We need to get him up here.
Disgraceful.
Yep.
Disgraceful.
But if you've seen the barbecue, I'm telling you. Unbelievable. All right, well, we're getting on to a little over an hour. I think we probably ought to wrap it up. Wait a minute. Video of Steve and Frida wandering into my library? What?
I don't know video. I know a photograph.
Is he making my books again? Yeah, I love Louis L'Amour. Love Louis L'Amour.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Scott? Should we wrap it up here?
Sure, you bet. It's just been a real pleasure, you guys. Thank you so much.
It's been fun. Thank you for everybody who showed up. We really appreciate it. I know the sound isn't perfect. We're trying to get, we do the best we can, but hopefully you could hear everything. We could hear you fine, Scott.
Oh, Gunwich. I'd love to know what you're making out of Empire of the Vampire. I'd love to know what you think of that. I had problems with it, but I thought it was really ambitious, really refreshingly ambitious. Well, I'll have to email you about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very, very much. Thanks and goodbye, everybody.